So, hello, everybody. It's me, Demetra Kaye, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. And this is our podcast. We are not live. I like to say that right off the rip because sometimes when I'm in the comment section of people, I see people say, "Hey, we're talking to you," but we're not there, but we're there. So we'll be back for our live show at 5 p.m. Central Time. But in the meantime, I'd like to say the purpose of the Demetra K Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people with the emphasis on even because we are great people, but we can always strive to do better. So today, usually on our podcast, we like to talk about relationship things. So we're going to kind of keep in that same vein. I have a question that I want to ask that kind of hit me in the middle of the night. It was just the weirdest thing. So I thought, okay, I'll ask it. But I saw this particular video, one of the videos that I'm going to show on Facebook. And I guess it was a father who was having some sort of a back and forth with his son in regards to shoveling the snow. And so it garnered quite a bit of debate from men and women about who's wrong, who's right, that sort of thing. Then I'm also going to ask a question that I saw that's trending in regards to Gen Z looking older than they really are. This video went viral as well. We'll let him give us his spiel, and then Donovan and I'll chop it up. So, Donovan, what say you before we get started?
Hey, welcome to the podcast. A lot of stuff going on. You guys know the routine. At the bottom, there's a scrolling banner. Please, if you want to donate, that's the way to do it, to keep the content creators motivated to make these great videos. Do not forget to sign up for the AfricanDiasporaNews.org on YouTube or internet, and you can do that. And take the year subscription. It's the cheapest way to go. If you go do by month, it seems a little bit more if you're crunching the numbers. Do the year subscription. That way you can get information in regards to everything that's going on in the African diaspora, happening in Africa, what's happening in Singapore, everything that affects Black people. You'll get it overall. Great video content from Demetra K, Brother Phil Scott, Wongel, Vicky Dillard, all kinds of information that's going on. 2024 is going to be a pivotal year, and you guys need to know the information. You need to know the information tonight. The New Hampshire primaries are going. Hey, it doesn't make any sense to me, even though this is not political right now. How does the person that came in number 2 in Iowa drop out? How does that person drop out? Some shenanigans are going on, or not shenanigans, basically political deals are being made behind the scenes. And guess what? Those political deals affect you. So how do you figure this stuff out? How do you stay informed? How I do it? African Diaspora News app or .org. So please go over there, sign up, and become a member.
Absolutely. So, of course, we'll talk about politics today at our 5 o'clock show. So please do not miss that, as it is always a great one. Okay, so this first video I'm going to show you is in regards to a father having a conversation with his son about shoveling the snow. And this is what transpired.
They don't want to hear nothing crazy. I'm not going out and shoveling nobody's snow. You can take all the Instagram stories you want to.
My son just said that I'm treating him like a slave because I'm making him shovel the front of the house, number one.
I didn't say you treat me like a slave.
You did.
Making me shovel. I said shoveling like a slave.
Okay, same difference.
No, it's not.
And
no, it's not.
He doesn't think it's a good idea to go around the neighborhood and shovel people's fronts out for money.
Because who's doing that? Who's doing that? It's 2024. Did somebody want their house shovel to get up and shovel for themselves? And then you already made me shovel once, and you want me to do it again? No.
Yo, this new generation, boy. This is the new generation.
Go home.
We used to go get money out here.
I have a job.
We used to. That's cool. So you double up.
No, not shoveling nobody's white lady snow. No,
you supposed to see this opportunity and seize it.
Opportunity. No, that's more work for me. Why would I do that? This is an off day at school for me. I want to lay home and lay in my bed with no clothes on all day. I'm not going out shoveling nobody else's snow. No.
Okay, Donovan. So I guess I should give it a little bit of background. So people were having a little back and forth as to whose fault is it that the son has the attitude that he has. Is it the mother? Is it the father? Is it both? And, just your overall opinion of what you saw.
Do I really have to give my opinion on this? Right? Do I really have to give my opinion on this? Because it's apparent that both parents are at fault. Listening to that kid, he has a feminine mindset. everything that came out of his mouth was a feminine mindset. And what do I mean by that? Oh, I'm going to lay in my bed all day on my day off. Going to school is something you're supposed to do. It ain't no damn job. You're not getting paid to go to school. You're there to get an education so you can hurry and get the hell out of your parents' house. I blame the parents on this, and especially the father. There is no way I would be in a video, even with my nephews, and they talk to me like that, even if I'm on live and video or whatever. Feminine mindset. That is what's wrong with our children nowadays. That father sitting there, he's at fault. Obviously, this boy spends a lot of time with his mothers and his sisters, but the father's at fault. What you mean? If I say you're going to shovel snow, where's the discussion? Where's the discussion? You're going to shovel snow. End of story. Period. Doesn't matter what you like and what you don't. I don't like going to work every day, having to give my check to make sure you're fed, clothed, and housed. I don't like doing that, but I do it. That's the problem with these parents, these newfangled parents. They are coddling these kids so much. And that boy that you guys just saw, you ladies, these are the young men you are raising. These are the young feminine men that you are raising that ain't shit, ain't no good, self-centered, all this other stuff. This is what you are raising, the mothers and the fathers. But a lot of you single moms, these are the type of men that you're raising. Demetra, when we were coming up, when did you ever hear, well, I'm at school, I'm going to take a day off, I want to take all my clothes, I'll lay in the bed. I wish I would have said that even to my uncles. They would have beat the crap out of me, because being a man is what we do. Building civilizations is what men do. I don't care if you're an IT specialist. You got to learn some other skills as well. That video just ticked me off to no ends. To no ends.
Well, I figured you would say that, and I agree with you. But I want to break down what he said. So he said it's 2025. And the point of contention was whether the father said that you were a slave or being treated like a slave. And he says, you wanted me to shovel snow. It's, kind of treat me like a slave. And I don't want to do that. And of course, the father says this new generation, they have no hustle. Back in my day, we wanted to get money. And then the son says, I have a job. So he says he already has a job. And it sounds like on his day off, he wanted to sit home and no clothes on his bed and chill. Okay. And he also said, I'm not going to be shoveling no white lady snow because sounds like the dad wanted him to go maybe knock on some doors and as a job and shovel snow and get extra money. He did not want to do that. So there's a lot going on from what I can see. Now, again, the conversation was, whose fault is it that he is that way? Whatever way you guys deem him to be. Well, I always say that kids are a sum total, SUM, of both parents. Whether the mama is there 80% of the time or the father is there 20% or vice versa, you add that 80 and 20 together, it gives you the sum total of what? 100%. In this case, the sum total of one child, unless you got twins or something. That being said, however, he is being seen by the public. Some people says it's a little bit effeminate. He's back talking what I'm going to do, what I ain't going to do. Whatever the case is, he is the sum total of both parents. Now, this particular situation, he is in the car with his daddy. And for whatever reason, this is the reason why I say that I think this generation of parents is the worst generation of parents on 2 feet. Because the animals, they seem to got their stuff together, okay? But this generation, because this father would rather film the interaction. I would imagine his daddy is somewhere in his late 30s, early 40s, from what I can see, okay? They would rather film it for clicks, likes, and views and, feedback, opposed to saying, as you said, Donovan, boy, this wasn't a discussion. This was okay, sir. All right, daddy. What time we going? Should I get the shovel, the gloves, or whatever it is you do, the shovels, or what? You know what I'm saying? That was the back and forth that should have been. But for some reason, the daddy, I don't know, he got a kick out of the son. ain't gonna. He got a kick out of that, and so he went to the internet looking for validation as to, am I right or am I wrong? But it's like, if I'm your daddy, I don't give a damn what the internet say. I said what I said, right? So I kind of see what's going on with the son. We don't know nothing about the mama, okay? So let's leave her out of it. Because we don't know nothing about her. All we know is from what we see in this minute or so clip, if it was that, the interaction between the father and the son. The son was so combative, not like too bad, but to the point to where the dad fired up his camera and I guess went live and put it on Instagram for what he said, to show the internet that basically I have no pull with my son. I have no authority with my son, to the point of, not only did he tell me what he wasn't going to do, he told me what he was going to do. He said, on my day off, I'm lying in the bed naked with whatever, no clothes on or whatever. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't have a problem with the son on his day off, laying up in the bed or whatever he want to do. Because I'm not one of those people that believe people should work like a Hebrew slave from sun up to sundown every day, all day. I do think people need to have a break because we do get exhausted. And when you get exhausted, then you start to make bad decisions and all that other stuff. So if he is a student, he looks like he's school age. Plus he has a job. Yeah, he deserves a day off, right? And does he want to shovel snow? Probably not. However, the problem that I have is that he is so demonstrative with his father, like, man, and he said, I don't care who you tell. I don't care who you tell on Instagram. I'm not doing it. So that also tells me that ain't the first time the son has told his daddy no. But you already know, homeboy, I ain't doing it. Next.
I'll agree with you just about everything. Of course, because you're a woman, you see things a certain way, and I'm a man. What do they call it? Blue pill, red pill? Whatever that bullshit is.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know how that thing works. But here's the thing, Demetra, and you got to understand this. Hustle isn't something you're born with. That isn't something you're born with. You got to learn it. You got to experience it. Hustle is something that is taught. If I don't, a good example. You're a hustler. You didn't just fix that up. You got that from your parents. Go out there and get that money, do what you got to do, hustle, hustle, hustle. So again, if the father, I blame the father in that situation. Again, he wants his kid to go out there and shovel snow. That boy should have been shoveling snow in the last snow session, the snow session before that, so that it's routine. I'm going to have to disagree with you in this aspect. Yeah, everybody deserves a day off. That's true. Oh, I work. You and I work very, very hard in our job. When you work at Frito-Lay and all the other jobs you've had. All my jobs, I worked hard. But does that give me a day off from my home duties that I have to do? Does that give me a day off? I was stationed in Alaska. There was days I had to go out there and shovel 5-foot snow. But you didn't see me talking about, oh, I'm going to lay in the bed naked and, because I don't want to. No, there ain't no days off sometimes. That does not alleviate what you're supposed to do, in your community or your job. Some things need to be taken care of. As you know and I know, when you're dealing with a snow environment, you can't let that snow keep sitting there. It's going to make a worse and worse situation. It could be even hard ice. And then you're really in a situation. So again, the father to sit there and have his son speak to him, and he broadcast that live on the internet, he should be ashamed of himself, because that's a reflection of his parenting skills. Because Demetra, you know me as opinionated and as damn near perfect as I am, right? As damn near perfect as I am. When it comes to my business and how I deal with my nephews and nieces, it's night and day, correct? When I say what I say, that's it. There's no I didn't ask you a question. I gave you a directive. That's it. So again, and that's something the boy has to learn. Yeah, we know you work. That's fine. You have a job, but you still got job duties in your community and your home that take no days off. I mean, I got stuff I got to do in my backyard, but it's raining right now. I got to prune the trees. I got to reshuffle the rocks. I got to do things. I would like to sit around and do that. My dog just had surgery. I got to take care of the dog. I got things I've got to do. These are things I was taught. There are no days off, especially when you're a man.
Yeah. Um, I get the whole no days off mentality, but then I don't really like the whole no days off mentality because when you have no days off, then you're not sane all the time, going after it. Also, when you understand the no days off, whether it's mental or physical, you also know that you are more susceptible to disease and illnesses and those things like that because your body and your mind do not have any downtime to decompress or to say, okay, that was cute. I worked all these things at work, at school, at home. Now let me just sit down. Because I'm going to tell you, being that we are from the generation that we are from, that is how we were raised. Go, 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 go. Hustle, 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 hustle. So even to this day, at 52 years old, I suffer with that. And I say I suffer with it because it's not always good that you're moving, 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 moving. Even though sometimes I say, okay, I'm going to have a day off today. Even sitting there, if I'm trying to watch TV, I find it difficult to do because in my mind, I'm like, I always got to be doing something, whether something around the house or what can I be doing? And so as of lately, I've had to train myself to say, hey, take a day off. Take a day off. Now, I want to say, looking at his father, he seems like he's in a different generation than we are. Maybe he's a millennial, which is kind of the generation under us, right? So as I said, they parent a little differently. Now, Donovan, I know you're a lot like me. When you're at home, yeah, you have some time when you watch a TV, but like you said, you got responsibilities. You got to stuff around the house to do this, that, and the other. So our generation was raised to, hey, when you get home, take that meat out and thaw it out. Because if you didn't, it's going to be consequences and repercussions because that meat was going to be what y'all was going to eat when mom got home, right? She needed it and you didn't do it. You was getting ass whooping because now all we got to go eat some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever. So
syrup sandwiches.
Yeah.
We couldn't even have the peanut butter and jelly.
Right. So we had stuff to do. I had chores when I was growing up. It wasn't this little cute stuff, that kids are doing now. I had to real life clean, mop, dust, all of that. Which is why I'm that way today. I'm the type of person. It's hard for me to go cook a meal in the kitchen. For one, the kitchen got to be clean. Okay, it got to be. And it's rare. When I say rare, it's rare that I make something to eat and then sit down and then clean the kitchen. I'm a cook, clean as I go, and that way I sit down, I might have my plate or whatever do. So the point that I'm making is this new generation, and I would say even more, so even in the millennial generation, they're not geared toward the hustle mentality. And I agree with you. Hustle, as I say, you go to college, degrees don't teach you hustle. Degrees don't, it's not in the curriculum. You gotta, like you said, learn it, or it's instilled in you, or be in that environment or something, right? But his son is like, I'm not sure. I'm not shoveling snow. That he said that he did it once. I don't know where he did it, but he did it once. Determined he didn't like it. But this is the other problem that I have before I give it to you, Donovan. Other problem that I have is because we were taught kind of sort of with the my way or the highway type of raising. It's right, but then it was missing that. Hey, honey, while I value your opinion, it's still gonna be what I said. But this is why it needs to be done. Often we parent from, I said what I said. Don't ask me why. Hey, honey, it's snowing. People can hurt themselves. It's hard to get in and out of the driveway, the walk, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to kill us to explain those dynamics. But at the end of the day, the son did not learn that. So why are you going on Instagram now to put him on blast? He don't look stupid. You do.
I agree. And then he made a statement like he wants to chill at home. Well, from what I saw, you live with your parents. So where's your home? See, it's different when you have your own crib and you don't want to do that. Your house wants to look like crap. That's on you because you're on your own. But when you're in somebody else's home, oh no, you have to be proactive and get things done, and that's just how it is. And that's what these kids don't understand. That's why when you got these people, you hear these nightmare stories about you let your friend who's fallen on hard times come into your house, then they come in there and you're helping them out, right? You're helping them out, but they're going on trips. They're not, they're barely paying you any rent. They're not paying any lights, whatever the deal is. This is that mentality that comes in. And this is why we're getting so far away from a community and helping each other, because people don't know how to act because they treat your house as if it's their house. And you shouldn't do that. You should be an asset to a home versus a liability. When I used to go to my relatives or friends' house, especially my aunt Winston and Bennett, they loved when I was there because I was an asset. It was like, hey, we ain't got to worry. Donovan took care of that. They didn't have to ask me. Vacuuming was done. Sweeping was done. The animals were taken care of. The trash was taken out. I mean, it was like they loved having me there because I was raised to do what I got to do. But I also realized this ain't my crib. And I've got to treat this place better than I would my own. That's the way I was raised. Somebody lets you loan something, you give it back to them better than what you got it. So how many of you guys had people like maybe your nephews, your nieces borrow your car and they never put gas back in it? That's a failure of raising, because if I'm going to borrow your car, I'm going to fill it back up. I mean, you do it for the rental car companies, don't you? Because you don't want to get their gas fees. But this is what I'm talking about. And so when he's talking about, I want to chill at home. Hey, little man, I'm with you. Yeah, I want to chill. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you ain't got no home. You ain't got no home, little homie. You're living in your parents' home. A good example with my sons or my nephews, and they would come over, if they're there. I would tell them, you don't live, you're occupying a room. This is my crib. This is mine. And that's how fathers and sons used to be, pretty much. It's not that you're pushing your son out or anything like that. But remember that song by Ice Cube? I had beef with my pops. I tried to knock pops out. I got tossed. I lost. He's the boss. That's what it's about. When you get your own crib, you can call your own shots. But when you're at somebody else's crib, I don't care if it's your parents. You don't live there. You're living there. You're occupying a space, but eventually you're going to leave. And that's what these kids got to understand. And again, hustle and all of this stuff is supposed to be taught. And if it's taught at a young age, you don't have to worry about it when he's a teenager. You won't have to worry about it when it's a teenager. You don't, because you've already gotten them used to, following you. Good example, Brother Walter. Walter is an auto mechanic. How does he know how to become an auto mechanic? Because he apprenticeshiped under your dad. Your dad took all of you guys with him. And Walter could work on cars. You prefer to do it. It's like me. People don't know I'm an aircraft mechanic. I can work on cars if I have to. I don't like it, but I can do it.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely has to be taught. Like when I was raising my daughter and I raised a niece and 2 other nephews, I'm a neat freak. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a neat freak. I like stuff clean and all that other stuff. So I might be doing too much, but that's just a generation that's where I say generation came from, and that's how I was raised, right? Everything in its place, and not just that it's looks clean, it has to be clean, because I'm taught the difference between, and also I have a background in sanitation, not janitorial sanitation, so I know the difference between something being cosmetically acceptable and actually being clean. Like you can go in somebody's kitchen and it looks good, but then you do a swab test, it's like, oh my God, you got E. coli, salmonella, and all kind of heebie-jeebies running around here. So
take that blue light into a hotel, see what you find.
Yeah, so it has to be both for me. It has to be both. But when I call them my children, I say you need to clean your room. They didn't clean their room. You need to clean your room. They didn't clean the room. I'll bring my daughter in here right now. She'll tell you exactly what I did. Deanna. Is she in here? Deanna, come here for a second. So why y'all don't think I'm lying?
When
I asked y'all to clean y'all room and y'all didn't clean your room, what did I do?
Come on now. That's some BS. You would come in while we were at school and you would sweep everything to the center of the floor. So we'd have to literally put it away and we couldn't walk over it.
Now, if I told y'all to put something away and y'all didn't put it away, what happened to that thing that I told y'all to put away?
I mean, it didn't happen to me, but people was getting their stuff thrown away left and right.
So you don't want to do, thank you. You don't want to do what I asked you to do. You gonna do it eventually, right? And it was never I'm beating yo. I could show you better than I could tell you. Oh, you really like those roller skates? But guess what? I told you to stop taking them off in front of the doorway where people could kill themselves, and it's very unsightly. Put the skates away. So you didn't think that I was serious? You came looking for your roller skates, and where are my roller skates?
Their friend is rolling by the window in this roller skate that looked like yours.
I thought they was garbage, so I threw them in the garbage because you didn't value them. That you know what I'm saying? But the point is, you didn't do it again. When you got something, you had something that was valuable. So the point that I'm even making to all that is if they're gonna do what we teach them to do. My mom used to always say, you have to have follow through as a parent. And the problem nowadays, parents don't have follow through. What do I mean by that? Hey, go pick that shirt up off the floor. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Go pick the shirt up off the floor because they didn't do it. Go back by there. You see the shirt, snatch. Whether you throw it away or not, you might just be putting it up somewhere because I've done that. Hey, have you seen that shirt? No, I don't know what shirt you're talking about. You know what I mean? Then eventually you say, well, I didn't think you valued it, so I took care of the shirt. And you didn't need it. Clearly, you had too many shirts already. So I just alleviated you from that shirt. So you have to have some follow through as a parent. I said what I said. My mom used to always say, you can't put a child in timeout and then go live your life. You know, your own restrictions, son. You can't leave the house. But then you leave the house, right? You leave the house and the child is probably watching TV, waiting and listening for the car to pull up in the driveway. And then he pull up, they turn the TV off and it's, how do you know they did what they're supposed to do if you wasn't there? So you putting the child in timeout. Sometimes you got to be in timeout. So you have to have follow through as a parent, but please don't get on the internet talking about how bad your child is when you didn't teach him to be good.
And isn't that crazy? In our generation, the worst thing you could be put on was restriction. We did not want to stay in our rooms. We wanted to go outside and be with our friends.
Give us the ass whooping. Just give it to us.
Yeah, I'll take the ass whipping. And that was me. I'll take the ass whipping rather than go on restriction. You know, I mean, how hard is it going to be? But the funny thing is, as you know, I was a step parent. And I remember, my stepson, he was like super huge. This was a huge kid, right? He was like 6'2", 100, almost 200 something pounds, whatever it was. And the funny thing is, I came home from work one day, and my wife at the time was like, you know, and I remember I got my stepkids. When you first get your stepkids, you kind of sit down, you talk to them, and kind of get to know them, and let them know what your parameters are. At least that's what I did. Hey, this are my parameters. Me and your mom go way back. Blah 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 blah. Right? I love their kids to death, but I made sure I told them I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. So one day I come home, and she's like, why is Ramon jumping up? Because, you know, his name was Ramon. He jumped up and he heard me pull up. And he jumped up and started doing whatever he was doing. What was he supposed to do? And, you know, as I come in, he's still doing it. You know, he waited to the last minute. No problem. I ain't going to say nothing as long as it gets done, right? Because that's how I am. I'm not going to, you know, do whatever I got to do. So my wife comes to me. She goes, why is it that when you say something, you only have to say it one time? I have to say it several times. And I told her, it's a man thing. Simple as that. You're a mom. Hey, you're going to let me get away with it. You're going to let me slide. You're going to let me do this. But Ramon knows that if I say something, there's going to be some issues, and we're going to go deal with it like men. And it came down simple like that. Now, my stepdaughter, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to report it to her mom, but I'm going to make sure that my displeasure is known. But when it comes to your sons, I'm not saying be extra harder because, like you said, it's a new generation. But like you said, follow through. Mean what you say and say what you mean. And I was the calmest person. And she, you know, and it's like he knew, not that I was going to jump on, because he was bigger than me. This kid was bigger than me. But I was so calm in my demeanor, and it was just night and day. And he really appreciated the fact that I took the time to spend with him, because I spent quality time with the kids, taught them how to drive and all, you know, little stuff that you're supposed to do. And I just said, the little things that I ask you guys to do, don't make it harder than it has to be. Simple as that, Ramon. And he's a big old video gamer. I said, that's good and great, but you still got things you got to do around here. And he's like, well, why do I got to keep doing this? Whatever. I just want to see if you can follow directions. Just like the military. How many of you guys have been in the military? Remember in boot camp, they made you have your shirt 6 inches. It got to be this way, this way, this way. Then when you finish boot camp, you never had to deal with that ever again, right? That kind of stuff. Because it's a way to indoctrinate you to see if you can follow orders and detail. That's what it's about. Done. And so, yeah, it's funny that, that you said that, but it's a man thing. If you want your sons to be real men, you got to teach them how to be a man. A kid just can't just come up and say, I'm a man. And no, that's another thing that's learned. Hustle is learned. Everything is taught. And most young men emulate positive or negative men that they are exposed to. Simple as that. Just like women, young girls emulate the women that are around them. Simple as that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this newer generation of parents, they're raising children that are going to be horrible partners. They're going to be horrible partners because those are the things that you are supposed to know in relationships, right? I'm just one of those people, and I'm gonna keep using myself as an example because I feel like I'm doing things pretty decently, and I say that I say this often: don't no man want no lazy woman. Now I'm gonna speak from a woman's point of view. No man wants to be with a woman that's lazy.
Wait, can I interject real quick? Wasn't there a song by Escape? Every man wants a woman. Get in the mood.
Yeah. Take off your
Like
clothes and relax your feet. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I need to preface it. I'm speaking from a woman's point of view. Now, some men, what? I'm gonna take that back. A man worth his weight does not want to be with a lazy woman. Okay, what's a lazy woman? A lazy woman is, you come home, the house is nasty. She probably ain't made you nothing to eat.
She's complaining all day. She wants to go shopping. Nothing's done that needs to be done, but she wants to go on trips, shopping, all kinds of stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, her attitude is nasty. She don't have no get up and go about nothing. She's raising the children because if she's at the helm of those children, she's there with the children more than anybody. She's raising those children to be just like her. So, as I said, a man worth his weight. He want a woman with some get up and go. Like I said, as a fully grown woman, and even when I was coming up to learning to be a woman, I would never invite no man over my house. And it's disheveled. I'm never gonna do that. You're not gonna come in my house and there's stuff everywhere, dishes all up in the sink, and I'm just not gonna do that because I know that is a reflection of you as a woman. Now I'm speaking as a woman. Okay, I know there's some women out there be like, oh, well, someone. I ain't talking to y'all. Okay, I'm talking to the women who feel like me and maybe don't know that that's how it's supposed to be. Because I learned from the older women. I learned that your house should smell good because it's clean. Not that you sprayed a whole bunch of air freshener everywhere, but it's funky. You got dirty clothes all up in the closet. You're smelling your drawers. Y'all not to be too graphic. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I learned from. I learned from those women. So unfortunately, nowadays, you got a lot of women, and I use that term loosely, who are raising girls and they're not raising them the right way. They sleep all day, and not for the life of me, I'm gonna tell you like this, and that's why I said this might be a shortcoming on my behalf. I've never been one of those women, even when I was younger, to sleep all day long. These mamas nowadays, not all but some, got children, and the children got to wake them up because they sleeping all day. They probably been smoking weed all day. They ain't got no ambition. You know what I mean?
The club closed at 2, so they didn't get back into the house till 4. So
Mm-mm. But even the mamas that don't go to the club, there's just no ambition. You sleeping all doggone day long. The kids waking you up. See, back in my day, we was up before the kids. The children had a schedule. They ate, breakfast at a reasonable time. They didn't eat breakfast at 12 o'clock. By that time, 10:30, 11 o'clock, they was about to have a nap because the kids had already been up. But these kids is willy-nilly all up, all times of night. Mama ain't on no schedule. They eat all late, all kind of stuff. And so when I think of that, I think, well, what kind of man do you really think you're going to get, sis? Because if you with a man that thinks that's okay, then he lazy in his thinking. He lazy in everything he doing too. Because a man that would even know a woman like that and call her his woman, he need to re-examine himself. Why would you want to be with a woman who is lazy in everything that she does? That's because you a lazy joker too.
And maybe it's just me or whatever. I mean, I've noticed that, I'll go to a friend's house or somebody's house, and the kids, it's 11 o'clock at night, adult time, right? The kids are still up. Now, when we were coming up, up until I was about 15 years old, I had to be in bed by 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Now,
It's 9 o'clock for me.
Yeah, it was 9, but then when I got to like 10th grade, they kind of gave me like an extra hour, be in the house. And then, when I got to my junior year, it was like, okay, do your thing, let us know where you're at, blah, blah, blah. Living on that. But yeah, but again, up until a certain age, you had a curfew. It didn't matter what was going on. You'd be in that bed by 9 o'clock, no later. You might stay up for the what was it, the $1 Million movie on Sundays when the 10 Commandments was shown or something like that.
Special occasion.
Yeah, a special occasion, or the Charlie Brown special or something would come up, and your parents would let you stay with, and everybody was watching, the whole family. But now you got the kids that will stay up hours, and you look at these little kids, and then you would tell them, "Hey, shouldn't your kid? Don't you tell me about my kids." And you're sitting there, and the kids are jumping all over the place, and you're like, "Wow," And hey, I got to go because I got a bedtime because I got to be at work in the morning, so got to go.
Yeah, well, and I think maybe not maybe, I know, growing up in a Muslim household, I was born in the Nation of Islam. There was rules, regulations, schedules, and regiments. It was all of that. It wasn't just, hey, we just wake up and just let the day, tell you what to do. No, we had schedules. And like I said, even when I was in high school, I had a bedtime at 9 o'clock. Now, some people, when I had mentioned that a couple years ago on social media, I got clowned for it. He was in bed at 9 o'clock. But guess what? I wasn't exhausted. I was in my right mind when I woke up the next day. I wasn't, scattered all over the place. So I had a bedtime I had to adhere to. And guess what? My daughter, she had a bedtime as well. And even to this day, I go to bed early. If I ain't got nothing else to do, I'm not going somewhere or, whatever. I go to bed early. I'm in the bed at probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. But guess what? I don't look like I'm burning the candles at both ends either. Up all night long.
I was just going to say that. Look at the difference from the kids that were regimented versus the kids that weren't. And I'm not saying everybody turned out terrible, but a majority of the people that weren't regimented, some of my friends, there's no words, because even as a little kid growing up, you got my mom would do everything from the couch. Okay, she slept on the couch. Until this day, my mom still does that. And we would hear her voice, "Smokey, Donovan, get up." And that would start our day. And we're talking about like 5:30 because we had to go to school in Fullerton from Moreno Valley. Back in the day, it took about 40. Back then, it took 45 minutes, maybe 35 minutes to get to Fullerton. And we would get up, wash our face, fix our bed. Everything was a regimen. Of course, Star Blazer, the New Zoo Review. We would watch the New Zoo Review as we're eating our breakfast, our oatmeal and stuff. We watch our Star Blazers, whatever. Then get into the car. It was the same thing every day when it came to school. And my mom didn't have to tell us anything in regards to being regimented in how we schedule because everything, there was a place and a time for everything. Got to school by 7:30, boom, boom, boom. School's over. Unless you have extracurricular activity, then you would go to the Boys and Girls Club, hang out there till mom comes to pick you up, and you start your day all over again. And thus, the people that I'm aware of that were regimented like that, everybody's doing very, very well for themselves. Not saying all of us, but a good majority of us.
Speaking of which, we're going to get into that because that's our next topic. It's a topic regarding the Gen Z generation and why, let me remove this, they look the way they do. So let's go ahead and get into that. I find it to be very interesting.
Now let me ask you a question when it comes to generation. We're Generation X. I thought our kids were Generation Y.
I think they are. Deanna, come here for a second because my daughter understands.
And then the millennials. Yeah, and then the millennials.
My daughter's a millennial, and then there's the Gen Z that's in their generation that's younger than them. So
right, it'll be their kids. Mm-hmm.
So the millennials are Gen Y.
Okay, gotcha.
They don't like the name; they like millennials.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's what I was kind of like. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Gen Z is the generation under them. So this is the generation that we are going to talk about right now. So I'm going to show you a video. And then we can get into it. So here it is. Oops, gotta press play.
apparently Gen Z is like aging really rapidly.
It is mainly because of the stress. Come here. We live in a time nowadays where millennials look way younger for their age, while Gen Z looks way older for their age. If you don't believe me, I'm Gen Z. Get closer. I am Gen Z, and nobody ever believes me. When my mom and I walk out in public, people think that my mom is my younger sister. Right. When I tell people, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my family, they think I'm talking about my children. I don't have kids. Right. I'm talking about my parents. I'm still the child. Does that make sense? I'll put it to you like this. Zendaya is older than me. Tom Holland is older than me. You get what I'm saying right now. There was one time I wanted an autograph from Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Right. I was standing for hours for this autograph. And when he walked up to me, I said, can you please sign this poster? It's for Jordan. Right. He then took it and put, Dear Jordan, your dad is a great guy. He stood out here for hours and then gave it back to me. And before I can correct him, he looked at me and said, times were way more difficult back when we were kids, am I right? And then he tapped my shoulder and left. Dwayne is 52. I am 26. What I'm saying is, so Gen Z definitely looks older. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And this fool said, so The Rock signed the autograph for his son. He thought the autograph was for his son. He's young enough to be The Rock's son. So basically he's lamenting, and that video got over 3 million likes on TikTok, so way more views, right? And it's been going around, and he's basically saying Gen Z looks older than the millennials because of just life and stress and things like that. So Donovan, what say you?
Yeah, that was sad because I thought that guy was maybe my son's age or something like that.
I thought he was older than that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, what's he talking about? Why is he speaking for the younger kids? And that's sad. But you know what? It's actually true. I would have to say I'd have to agree with that for the simple fact that even when you look at our women in our generation and younger women, now that women have infiltrated the workforce and doing the jobs and the stressors, there's been reports, depending on what reports you want to believe, where women now, remember like in the 80s and 90s, there was a report where men were dying because they're so stressed out. They were dying at a young age, and so, and we're still doing it in general, being men. Now there's been a report where women now are checking out of here at a lot of, usually, what was it? A woman could live at least 8 years longer than her spouse if she was married or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She lived longer. Basically, women lived longer. Now it's coming to a point where women are dying at the same rate as men. And I know a lot of women don't want to agree with me on this, but the stressors that are out there in the world, in the employment market, there are certain jobs that men are necessarily made. I know women can do them. Just because you could do something doesn't mean you should. And women are being stressed out. Now you guys want to be independent, and that's great. But with that independence comes a lot of stress. And we know stressors on people affect people differently. Now you've got women that are now so stressed out, and they're it's hard for them to deal with everything because now they don't have the time to be the mom or the whatever. These things that never happened before for women. Like in the 1950s, you didn't see those numbers. 1970s and the modern age starts coming in, and now women are they're equal, or they think they're equal, whatever you want to call it, and they're just stressed out. And you see some of these women, Demetra, some of them look very, very old for their age. I've run across a lot of women in our age group that work and that are, whatever, out there doing whatever they're doing. They look old. And it's, now being a young mom, I think you had Deanna when you were 4. 3, something like that. So, no, seriously though, but it's very rare that I see women, the married women that I see, and the few that are got good genes like yourself, they seem to be right where they're supposed to be. Some of them look really good and they handle whatever. But a lot of the women that I've seen that are very individualistic, they look rode hard and put away wet. I mean, and you can see the stress in their eyes, and they're smoking weed, all the weed in the world, and they're still stressed out. I mean, it is what it is. And I just think that with the food that's out there, the lack of physical conditioning and all this other stuff, I mean, everybody's looking for this magic pill that's gonna and surgeries. At the end of the day, ladies, no matter how many surgeries you get, gravity is undefeated. Gravity is just undefeated. So, I mean, it's sad, but I think, the stressors out there, it's getting worse and worse. So,
yeah. Gravity is undefeated for men too. As I said, y'all sackages ain't where it used to be either. Let's keep it a buck. You know what I mean? Y'all got saggy behind.
But that could be a plus, though.
To who? To who? Y'all got running around with 2 punching bags. Got 2 punching bags between your legs. Who's that an asset to?
It depends on where those punching bags is hitting. It depends.
The bed? They hanging off the bed?
Christmas time, all year long.
I'm just saying, looking like 2 Christmas ornaments, 2 Brazilian nuts just that's there. Let me stop before I get in trouble. I'm just saying, y'all booty be looking like that. The air got let out of it too. Just be 2 like wrinkles.
Absolutely. No, gravity's undefeated on both sides. I mean, but then when you get our age as a man, women don't care about what we look like. They care, can we pay the bills? Well, I mean, they care.
I almost called you the N-word on here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys care, but in general, it's just like that saying, I've never heard of a woman giving no man no loving because his hair looked good. Nobody's really caring about that. They care about, the providing as a man, when you're my age, can you provide? Because I've seen some beautiful women with some dudes you're like, how? But he's an older man.
Because he got money. Come on.
Right. Exactly.
I'm a woman. All day long, I'm a woman. And I'm going to tell you right now, most women ain't with, especially if she younger. We have this conversation all the time. They not with no old cooter because he old. They with him because he got money.
Well, I'm talking about even the older women now. When you're in my demographic, a woman ain't gonna look at me and say, "Oh, Donovan's so cute," whatever. They're looking at me because I'm a refined man. Like, oh, he can handle business and he's good to go. That's what a lot of mature women.
I tell you too. I know a lot of women, probably all of them. Man, like, I got to be able to look at this sucker too. Okay, I got to be able to look at him too. It ain't the other way around. I need to.
I'm not gonna say that I want to get in trouble, but go ahead.
I'm saying I got to be able to wake up in the middle of the night and be scared and think that a booger wolf done broke in the damn house. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to show you off too. Yes, this is my man. He's got the the gray hair, and he's just not no, he doesn't work construction. He has not burnt the candle at both ends. Okay, no, he was not ran over by a Mack truck. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to do those explanations either. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, as far as the Gen Z, that gentleman looked older than 26. I ain't gonna lie, and he just did. But see, I have this conversation with my daughter, who is a millennial. There's a lot of excess now. People living in excess. Back in our day, I've never smoked weed. You never smoked weed, but with the people who did, it was recreational. It wasn't how some people chain smoke. Like, people smoke weed nowadays all day long. Even if it's not all day, it's every day. And it's like, what happened to the recreational part?
Right, and look, and I'm not addicted to weed. My friend's been smoking it for 15 years. I'm not addicted.
Yeah, so you think about something like that. Let's just sustain the conversation with marijuana. It's affecting the inside of your body. So what you do on the inside is eventually going to permeate to the outside, right? Your skin is the largest organ on your body. So what you put in your body is going to come out through your skin. So you people who drink a lot, their skin look leathered and tethered. People who smoke, let's say cigarettes, they look
pale. Their skin looks really
Bad.
padded. Yeah, padded.
So ain't no telling what marijuana is doing to you. Plus,
But look at the lips. I can always tell a person that smokes marijuana, you look at their lips, especially black people. Look at the lips.
yeah. So you doing all that to your body, and you mad because you look like you 99 years old and you only 26. I mean, hell, I even know some women and men in their 30s and 40s is like, you how old now? Because I thought you were older, and that's not even being mean. I see it all the time on my timeline. I'm like, so, because people announce their birthdays, they're like, oh, it's my 43rd birthday. And I'm like, nah, hell no.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, no wonder that girl, I thought she was older in the DR. She just looks older. That's the issue.
Yeah, because she is truly being rode hard and put away wet. That's a very hard lifestyle. You know what I mean? It'll see, I always tell y'all, I don't want to say I'm vain, like, oh, it's just that nothing my looks, but I kind of am. Because listen, I'm 52, finna be 53. I don't need nothing else dragging my looks down. Okay. Life is hard enough. Like you said, gravity eventually is going to be like, I got you, right? So one last thing I'm going to do is be around people who stress me out. If you stress me out, I'm probably going to, maybe get off the phone with you. I ain't going to hang around you much because stress does aid in, how you look. I'm not putting no foreign agents in my body that ain't supposed to be there. Now, I have a drink every once in a while, right? But it ain't cocktail after cocktail after cocktail, and I'm not going to smoke. I don't care whether it's nicotine, it's nicotine weed. I'm not, because that stuff makes you look older.
It's just hookah.
Yeah, and hookah is just as worse than smoking cigarettes. They said a hookah session at a time was like smoking 8 packs of cigarettes at a time. So it's like knowing those things, but that's the difference between our generation and new generation. New generation, you can't say nothing to. It ain't bad for you. It's like, why you run around here coughing like you work in a coal mine then? If it ain't bad for you, you know what I mean? But so this generation, the new generation, they live in excess. There's no cutoff, whether it's drinking, it's drugs, it's sex. Now, I know typically some people somewhere have a lot of sex, but in this generation, I'd imagine it's hard having sex with a couple of different people a week. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of excess going on. And I'll have to also add, it's not something maybe that they're doing to themselves personally. Yeah, the economy is not favorable for them. I was watching the news earlier and they said that if a person who was a Gen Z and millennial try to buy a house, they're going to pay $1,500 at least more than on average, than our generation did for a mortgage for a house, that's not new. It's, would have been the same house we would have bought. I think they said in addition to paying $800 or more for rent, depending on where you live. So they got a lot going on in addition to these jobs that they keep talking about. Those jobs don't exist in addition to this generation going to school and amassing all of that student loan debt, because when we were going to school didn't cost as much as it do now. We could pay the loan off.
When I first went to RCC, it was $11 a unit.
It was less than that when I went. It was probably like three or five. So, so we could pay an education off faster back then. Now they cannot. So they're graduating with all this debt. And they're told, oh, these jobs are out there. They're waiting, these jobs. Okay, but then the jobs they want to pay you $15, $17, $18, $19 an hour with all that education. But it's like, even with that, I mean, unless you live in Mississippi, which it doesn't sound like you're going to be able to do that too much longer, where are you going to be able to take care of yourself or making $20 and under an hour with a degree, plus pay off your student loans? So that's stressful.
Right. There's so many statistics out there, and I feel sorry for them because back in the day, in our generation and behind us or ahead of us, or no, behind us, I guess, our parents and grandparents, there was a surplus of houses that were built so everybody could buy a house. And again, for those of you guys that don't understand economics, if there is a mass surplus of an item, the price comes down. It doesn't go up. So back in those days, there was a surplus of houses. They're not building houses for everybody anymore. They're not doing that. Now, the corporations and the banks have now collaborated in building communities that they can rent. And it's so sad because the generation, the millennials, are now, they can rent the American dream, the facade of renting a home versus an apartment to raise your kids in, but you'll never own it. And this is where, and it's sad. And let me say this, I'm sorry, but they're the generation that's been in power for over 40 years. The baby boomers have enacted a scorched earth policy. And you want to know why? In my opinion, I think they're doing that because now these people are now in their 70s and in their 80s or whatever. They're older people. They're not that young 70s thing with the little halter top and the afro and got the big old caddy in the background and doing all that, right? They see that, hey, it's over for us. I'm not going to enjoy, for my grandkids, whatever. It doesn't matter to them because, they're sitting at home now. All their friends are, gone or whatever. It's a scorched earth policy. They could care less about the next generation. Now, if you guys have listened to my podcast before, I have always told you guys the most selfish generation in American history is that baby boomer generation because, again, they're not worried about anything else other than their generation. You could prove me wrong by this. If they really cared about the other generations behind them, how come when the Social Security thing is always talked about, they made sure they got theirs secured? They didn't worry about anybody else after them. Medicaid, every election cycle, they're talking about medicine for the elderly. They're always talking about that. You mean to tell me these people who are all in Congress can't solve all of those problems? And we're dealing with the scorched earth policy to where these people, they don't care about the next generation. And it's provingly, and it's showing because look at the policies, look at the schooling, look at what we're doing. There's no more shame. There's no more this. Families are broken up. We're not even trying. This generation who's in power is not even trying to fix the laws to make sense that's going to be effective for the next generation. Putting child support on me and all this other stuff, okay, that's been great. Now you've got, things that need to be tweaked. I'm not saying you shouldn't get rid of child support. They need to be tweaked. They're not even trying to do that. You can't solve modern day problems with yesteryear's ideas. This doesn't work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know we, beat up on the baby boomers. And so again, it's not all of them, but yeah, some of the things that have been put in place. The silent generation is still running Congress, and the baby boomers, and there's some young people in there, but you don't even really hear from the young people in Congress anymore. You're still hearing from the silent generation, the baby boomers. It's like, honestly, what is y'all, yes, I said what is y'all still doing up in there? Y'all glomming on to the power. Y'all not gonna let it go. Y'all just don't understand. We're gonna talk about James Clyburn later on, but it's like you said, you're trying to apply antiquated, ideologies and systems and things to today's time, and it just does not work. It doesn't work because, for one, it wasn't even no computers when y'all was, coming up, and so even on jobs, I'm hearing about people who are baby boomers and whatever, they still on the job and they have to be retrained, or because maybe they're grandfathered into the job or whatever, they for whatever reason won't learn how to do things right, so they got to put them somewhere else instead of saying, because then you got ageism and can't do that. Instead of saying, hey, Gloda, you've been here since 1975 where you had to take shorthand, and now we got AI to do all of that. Well, I don't want to learn how to do all that. And if you try to get them apart, there's ageism, so you can't say that to her. But for whatever reason, she or he is not getting up off the job, so that younger talent cannot come in there and, for one, build a legacy, or start building a legacy by buying a home, being able to take care of the children, and all of that other stuff. Because unfortunately, it's just the truth. You do have a lot of baby boomers who won't get up off it. So when we think about what this newer generation is going through, and my daughter always says this, and she says it in jest, but I believe there's some seriousness to it. She says, I didn't ask to be here. And when she said that enough times, jokingly, I started to take her seriously, because I thought about it. I said, you know what? She didn't ask to be here. And a lot of times we, in our generation, we do, and I'm not saying all of us, but some of us, we do the bare minimum for the children. We don't teach them any skills. We set them out to fail. And let's also add into, with Black people, we got systemic and institutional racism going on. So there's a lot of things going on. And then we say to our children, get out there and get after it. It's like, well, for one, you didn't set me up to do any of that. And there's a lot going on. I'm not saying that's the reason why they sometimes have a failure to launch, but I think as parents, we do have a duty, and grandparents too. I'm not one, but if I become one, we have a duty to leave the world a little bit better for them so that they can have a go out of it. Because I'm one of those people, and I tell you all day long, I don't believe we should set children out to struggle like I did. Because I think that's the language and the ideology of the oppressor. You don't put your children out to struggle like you did. Did you like it when you was out there struggling? Now, I'm not saying some toughness, because I think that people do generate benefit from toughness, but struggle, and you setting your children out there to struggle, I think that makes you a horrible person. Teach your children the skills that they need so that they don't have to struggle, because you setting your children out there to struggle, then that's on you. So going back to the baby boomers, as we talk about a lot, they pulled the ladder up and said, I got all there was to get. I picked the carcass clean. So whatever you get from it is on you. But then out of that same mouth, they'll say, well, y'all not working hard enough. But it's like, you don't want to count in what you did.
Right. Well, let me add to that an example, because you hear that from baby boomers a lot. Oh, just get a job, just get a job. Now, when they were coming up, they had annual pay increases that reflected what the economy was, right? 30 years, wage stagnation for our generation and our kids' generation. How do you expect somebody to get a house or get the American dream when the richest of the rich, their income goes up, but the average worker's flatlined? And these are things that they could have done. Now, all of a sudden, when we're in a mode to where all this stuff is evident and it's coming home to roost, now you talk about, oh, we need to raise the minimum wage to $15. If you go by the 30-year stagnation, the minimum wage should have been $15 back in 1981. The federal minimum wage should have been $15 back in 1981. What can $15 do if you live in Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York? Again, see, these ideas, again, against people who come from a different generation. Well, when I was young, $15, that would have been a gold mine. Yes, that's when you were young and the dollar had more weight. The dollar isn't the same dollar. I used to get this in the military from especially the older military guys. Man, when I was in the military, we made $163 a month. Well, yeah, with that $163, you could buy a car, you could do your house payment, you could feed your family. You could do a lot of things back then because you had more buying power. Now we've got a dollar that's damn near worthless, and then you talk about, well, yeah, $15 is more than enough because when I was younger, it's not the same $15. And that's where we're at today. So I do give grace to a lot of these younger people, but I also try to explain, especially to my nephews and my kids, the blame of this. If you're going to put blame, we're all part of the blame, some form or fashion. But in other countries, let's say like Sweden and Finland and stuff like that, you could retire from a job. Any other job you get in addition to that, you're only going to make minimum wage. So that de-incentivizes these people for staying on these jobs to give the next generation a chance. But to me, the blame has to be put on where it's at. Who is in control of government the majority of the time? We've got an 80-something-year-old president and a 78-year-old one that looks like he's going to be the nominee of the next in the next election. These are the people that we have that partied their lives and did everything they wanted to do when they were younger, and now they just don't give a damn. Nancy Pelosi. I mean, we could go on with the names. These are the people that are in power. And this is where we're at. So I give grace to the young people, but at the same time, I'm just going to say this. Do better. Don't make the same mistakes that we did and the generations before your grandparents and stuff like that did. Do better. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and give the other generations a better chance.
And I was just looking just to kind of see what we're looking at as far as numbers. So in 1960, the average income or average salary was $5,600. The average price for a home was, $11,900. Okay. So is keeping in line, right? So in 1970, the average income was about $9,900. So the average salary for an American in the 1970s, housing was about $23,000 to $53,000 to buy a house. Still keeping in line, right? With it's affordable. In 2023, the average price for a home in America is $340,000, and the average salary is $60,000. Somewhere, the train left the station and left the people in it. You know what I mean? So when you look at the disparity there, you have to have that conversation. It's not about the children or this generation being lazy, because that we hear that argument a lot. Oh, this generation ain't lazy in my house. So it's like, well, God dang it, how hard am I supposed to hustle? Because even when I was working at my first job when I was 16 at McDonald's, I made $3.25 an hour. I could go do some stuff about all my school clothes, and admittedly, I worked even before then. But I could buy all my own school clothes. I could go. I paid for my proms and everything in high school. My parents rarely even paid for anything for me. I paid for it. So $3.25 was doable for a minimum wage job, right? But minimum wage now, they're arguing whether it should be $15 an hour, you know? So I don't know, $15 an hour, what is that a week? I can't do math, but it surely does not get you to $60,000 a year.
And like I said, I'm in California at $5 and something a gallon for gas to get to work. That's a tax directly out of my pocket that you know, you don't really think of it as an expense.
Yeah, so then you think about all that stuff, and then you got the nerve to talk about this generation is lazy. I mean, how hard do they have to hustle? Working 2 and 3 jobs should be it should be unheard of. That shouldn't be normal that a person have to not even work 2 or 3 jobs, but 2 or 3 jobs just to barely get by. Where is that normal?
Right, and like the guy in the video, I'm surprised he didn't have gray hair showing, because if I had to deal with the unsurmountable effort that these kids have to do, especially if you're Black, because we're at the bottom of the totem pole. Not that I tell people to give up, but I would be graybeard. Just, you know, at 30-something years old, I would just be so stressed out in graybeard because of the insurmountable odds that I'm against. Because let's face it, and you know, Demetra, I'm glad we're talking about this real quick, because I want to say this. Why is it that as Black people, we will sit on our legacy until we're dead, and then by then most of our kids have either got their own stuff or whatever, and you have to give them that leg up? And I'm going to say this, I'll give a good example. And you know, I love my mom to death, but I thank my mom so much that she's letting me enjoy my inheritance now by having the house that I'm in right now. I just got to maintain it and do what I got to do, and you know, and do what I'm supposed to do. But I'm just thinking, I mean, even though I can go get another house, but the point is, why do we wait until we're 70, 80 years old or whatever, we die out? Didn't teach our kids nothing. Didn't teach them nothing. Then you want to give them the legacy. And then when the kids get it, they lose it within 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you know, I have a daughter, but I always say my daughter can function without me. My daughter don't need me to function. Hell, sometimes I wonder if I need her to function. I always tell people that, well, that's really my mama now, you know, jokingly, obviously, but you know, we should equip our children with skills on how to do things, how to survive, how to, you know, be logical thinkers, how to be rational, and also how to get it themselves. And if you have a house to leave your children or whatever, that's great. You know, you should do those things. But I think at some point in time, we need to stop blaming them for not having, not doing, and this, that, and the other, because it's self-righteous for one thing. Because as I said, our generation didn't have the hurdles this new generation is up against. We could buy a house when I was coming up, and I had a house when I was 30. You know what I mean? I had my own house and had 2 cars in the, you know, in the driveway, and I didn't feel, and I had 1 job. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I gotta go leave this job and go to this job. I was able to do that. They can't. It's not easy to do it now. I'm not saying that they can't, but most people cannot go into a mortgage to a lender and say, hey, because back in the day you could get an estate loan, but you can't today. I'm working at Walmart and McDonald's. I'd like to buy a house. Really? Okay. Well, the average median price of a house is $340,000. can you afford that loan? Because of course, when you do a loan, you have to take out in consideration all the other debts you may have and how much you're making, debt to income ratio. You got to take in all that. And of course, they're gonna say, well,
and you're black, and they've already redlined you, how what Navy Federal did and all this. That was to military black people. God, they dogged us out. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like, it's nice that you want to buy this house, but you, on paper, you can't buy this house, you know? So then it's like, whose fault is it that they can't buy a house? And then they're renters. And the landlord, depending on where you live, because most places in the United States are not rent controlled. So they live somewhere and the landlord, you know, well, I got to pay more in gas, so I'm going to raise the rent on you. It's like, I didn't get a raise at work, though. I didn't get a raise. So now you, not only you raising it $25, you're raising it $100, $200. Like,
there goes the cable. There goes the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So where am I supposed to get this from? But again, we have this bad habit, and I think especially in our culture, to put the blame where the blame is not always due. You know, it's really about having a logical conversation of what's going on. And other thing too is I think about my father. My father was a very successful mechanic, but he was that because his sister gave him the money to open the shop. And we don't do that a lot in our community. I didn't have nobody helping me. You get out there and struggle. I'm getting it on my own. See, I'm that type of sister though. I'm not, if I can help you, I'm gonna help you. If I see you really trying to do something, I'm gonna help you. I'm not gonna get it out the mud like I did, you know, because that's also practicing group economics. That's also, I'm gonna help you build a legacy. I got it. I'm gonna help you build a legacy because that's what other communities do. Yeah, I got $5,000 here. They gonna open up that shop so you can, you know, be self-sufficient. You can do for self, you know, whatever the case is. Go ahead and do it. But I'm not. What I'm not ever gonna do is saddle you with a bunch of drama, trauma, and woe because I had to go through that. So it's when we're able to help each other, we should help each other at the end of the day.
See, and you know what's sad about that though too? It's funny because I was watching this last night. You hear about that lady in Jacksonville? She has this credit repair business, and she's a big scammer. She was like, there's so many scammers going on nowadays. It's just sad. But in regards to the older generation, even our generation, I see so many of my friends. The kids have grown or whatever, and they want to downsize. The house has been paid for, but now they want to sell the house. They downsize and live in that house. You know, something more modest and stuff like that, which is fine. That's their thing. But remember when the gentrification was happening in LA and we were telling people, hold on to your house, hold on to your house. Don't sell it. Don't sell it. Don't sell it. We've got to start getting in the mindset of telling people, be thankful for what you got. I mean, again, you could have a Cracker Jack house in LA. That's $1 million. Those houses are valued at $1 million and they're just 1 and 2 bedroom homes, but it's the location. We've got to start telling our people, when you get your dream home or Big Mama raised you for 4 generations, lived in the house for 4 generations and she passes away, don't sell the house. Keep the property. We've got to get it. I'm very sure there's somebody responsible in your family that can occupy that house or use it as a rental property, as a residual income. We've got to start teaching that type of stuff because let's face it, like you said, they've pulled the ladder. The older generations have pulled the ladder up on us. And that's what it is. And I just can't fathom my grandparents working as hard as they did just to leave, you know, whatever their legacy is, you know, to these kids after the fact, and then the kids just smoke it away or whatever. You know, it's just, you know, one of those things we have to really do better when it comes to that. But like you said, I don't blame the younger kids nowadays because if you're really looking at it the way it is, it's easy to sit there in your little 4-bedroom ranch house paid off and do that and judge the young kid. Go get a job. Where are the jobs? What jobs? What are you talking about? It's easy to say that, but you're not living their experience.
Yeah, you know, and if you don't have anything per se like land and stuff, you're gonna check out of here one day. Get a life insurance policy. Get a life insurance policy and leave a legacy because that's how other communities they build a legacy. They get a life insurance policy enough to, you know, put their loved one away nicely, and then they have enough to leave their children or their grandchildren. Hey, go buy a house or whatever it is you're going to do. Here's generational wealth. That's how you build it. Because as I tell you guys before, Black people being underinsured, because we are actually the most insured, but we're the most underinsured. And that actually came out of racism, because when the salesmen back in the day, which were predominantly white, would come to our houses, they would sell us insurance, but we would be undersold. And the policies often did not keep up with inflation. So you might have a policy, and I've seen a lot of, talked to a lot of people that got sold a $2,500 policy in 1975. All right, well, back then you probably could have a funeral for that. But you come into modern days, like you're not even going to buy a bouquet of flowers with that. But so that was not thought about to maybe keep up with inflation, or it wasn't revisited and all those type of things. But again, it was out of racism, because they did not want to help us build generational wealth. But all other communities do that. Even if they're wealthy, they still have a life insurance policy so that their heirs don't have to liquidate the house or the other wealth, or things like that, in order to take care of final expenses. And so if you don't have a house, get a life insurance policy. Leave your children that. Leave them the gift of a legacy. Don't leave them the gift of debt. Don't
Poverty.
and don't leave them having to figure out what to do next. It's simple. A life insurance policy is not, depending on how old you are. But see, this is the problem. The older you get, then the more expensive it's going to be, because maybe you had some health issues, maybe you had some surgeries. Because when we get older, we kind of wear out a little bit. So
maybe they checked your blood and they found out you have illicit drugs in there, so that'll make your policy go higher.
Yeah, so there's different issues. You might have some driving issues. You got some tickets or whatever. So get it when you're younger. Think about your children or the person that's going to have to take care of your final expenses. And I have a life insurance policy. God forbid something happened to me, my daughter ain't gonna, be able to talk about, well, I think I'm gonna have to cremate her because that's all I got. I want her to be able to do whatever she's gonna do with my body. She's my next of kin because I'm not married. I want her to be able to do whatever she's gonna do with my body. And I want her to go off and have a fabulous life. I don't want her to have to perhaps go right back to work, because I talk about it all the time. People, got a 5-day bereavement, 3 paid, 2 not paid, a total of 5. So how you gonna go bury your mama on a 5-day bereavement and have to go back to work? Especially if she ain't leave you no life insurance. So your mama leave you a life insurance policy. You can say, hey, take this job and shove it. I got a nice little chunk of change. I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna mourn my mama for as long. Because listen, my mama died 7 years ago, and that don't get easier. But I can never imagine having to go back to a job and punch a clock within 5 days. Of my mama dying. If we weren't taken care of in that way. So don't leave your children bad off. Leave them a policy. If you ain't got land, leave them a policy.
And then you got to. And let me cut you off. Also, let me add to this. You got to think about this. I'm a veteran. The veteran cemeteries are being full, so you got to think about where you're going to put the body if you're even going to do that. See, so that's something people don't really think about. It's like, yeah, you got a policy, okay, it covers this, and that, but there might be a cemetery that they might not have any room for you, because the baby boomers being the largest generation of people, and these people are checking out of here every day. These cemeteries are filling up, and with these developers, building warehouses and stuff, land is hard to come by. I even heard stories where they're they're finding old cemeteries that were buried by military bases and all this other stuff. So you got to think about stuff like that. Where are you going to put that loved one?
Yeah. So there's something you can leave your children, to start building a legacy. But the other thing is you got to teach them that, hey, I'm gonna leave you a legacy. God forbid I die. This is where the policy is. And this is what you teach them. You don't expect for them. Yeah, if your children have never had a lump sum of money and never knew what to do with money, they get a big giant lump sum. They probably gonna trick it off. You die and you leave them a house and you didn't tell them responsibility of paying the taxes and all that other stuff, the maintenance, the warranties, the upkeep of the house. Yeah, they probably gonna lose it. Or when somebody says, I'm in the neighborhood buying houses, I understand, God, I'm sorry. I want to give you my condolences that your mom has passed away. She was the owner of the house, but I want to take that off your hands. Because that's when you see those people putting those signs in the neighborhood. We buy houses. Those are the type of people coming and lure the house from your loved ones, because they haven't been taught. Big Mama and Big Pa said, when we go, we keeping the house. We're not saying get on out of here. Yeah, this house is worth a lot of money, but we are keeping it because we understand that as a legacy, it's something we're passing down. It's via Lararo here. This house here, That's Madam C.J. Walker's house. That house is still in their family to this day. And she brought that in like 1917. That house is still in their family. Not quite sure. Somebody was like, oh, well, we'll take it off your hands. Somebody with a lot of money. But Madam C.J. Walker taught her heirs the importance of leaving something to your family, because she was not left that. She had to build a legacy, and then she left it to her children. So you got to teach them that. It's about financial literacy. Also, we are taught, and we hear, and this is the argument that I hate, well, they don't teach this in school. They need to teach. No, if they never taught your children how to finance money, you teach them at home. Sit down with them when you are going on that. You're going over the checkbook. Tell them why you're going over the checkbook. This is what we got. Now, because all this the other thing in our community, that ain't your business. You know what I mean? Okay, you don't want to tell what you got, but okay, we got mortgage, we got lights, gas, that is
how much you getting from child support? Ain't none of your business. You're trying to help them in their finances.
Yeah, whatever it is, you sit down at the table and you go over that with them so that they are not financially illiterate. Oftentimes, children go off to college, and the first person they see on that campus is a credit card representative, and they sign them up for credit cards, and they were never taught how to financially be responsible with a credit card. They go amass all this debt, and unfortunately, on campuses, you hear about students who have taken themselves out of here because the debt was too much for them to handle, but they were never taught that. So don't wait to send your child to school to learn about life matters, whether it's, sex, who they are as, Black people or finances. Teach them that at home. So that way, when they get out in the world, it's not a surprise.
Well, let me ask you this real quick before we go. Everything you said is spot on. But what I would say, if you have an older grandparent or somebody, or older parent and stuff, I would talk to them about like putting the property in a trust. Would you recommend something like that so that it doesn't get lost? It's a trust, and that way it's an estate, and they've got to have people on the board. And what would you recommend?
Yeah, you can. I think that's probably optimal, being the better choice. But whatever it is you decide to do, make sure it's in writing, because when it's in writing, there's no fighting. Make sure that your final wishes are to the T, right? But more importantly, even if you don't do that, make sure you have something. Life insurance policy, you have a beneficiary, that's kind of non-disputable. You know what I mean? Because you designated somebody for your life insurance policy. But I say this:
you'll be surprised at how many people just try to dispute it though, and tie it up, and the lawyers get all the money.
Life insurance policy, boo boo. If I listed you as my beneficiary, the life insurance company says, "Hey, take that up with your mama. This is the beneficiary. We're not gonna argue over that." You know what I mean? Unless for some reason somebody says, "Oh, it was forged" or something, then they might look at it then. But if you got a beneficiary, that person is going to get your money. That's who you left as a beneficiary. But yeah, if it's in writing, there's no fighting. Leave your final wishes. But me and Walter say this all the time: you are a horrible person. And I'm going to say this with everything I got. You are a horrible person if you are a sane mind, able-bodied, walking around here uninsured. And then you with your sorry behind, because you'll be dead, but whatever. Your sorry behind, expect for somebody else to foot the bill because you didn't do what it takes to make sure that your life was insured. Even if sometimes, and we have this conversation too, I don't even know how we got on this conversation, but I felt led to say this. A lot of y'all got insurance on the job. Oh, I got insurance on the job. That insurance goes, when the job goes away, it goes away. It's rare that a job will let you keep that life insurance. And so you worked at the company 30 years ago. You were 30 years younger. You got that insurance, and it's time to retire. Your insurance don't go with you. Now you're 60 something. Guess what? Now you got to go get a life insurance policy when you're 60 something, which is going to have you rated higher. You got a higher premium than it would have been 30 years ago. So I cannot stress this enough, that if you leave out of here and you make somebody else have to figure out how to bury you, go have a car wash, a fish fry, or something like that, because you was too sorry, as my mama would say, you good time Charlieing. You're out there kicking your heels up. You're paying for coochie. You're paying for this. You're paying for weaves and wigs and nails and all this other stuff. But when it's your time to take a dirt nap, not somebody else got to figure out how to bury you. Better be happy I ain't in charge, because I roll you so smooth off a side of a cliff. But the other thing is, you might say, because I've heard this, well, I'm going to be dead. You better hope nobody do it to you while you alive. That's what you better hope, because you're going to be saying, why didn't you get some life insurance? It could have all been so simple.
Yep, and we hear thousands of stories in the Black community of people who have Devontae running around the neighborhood living that life. Then he gets caught up, and everybody's like, "Oh, how are we gonna, you got the car wash, you got the GoFundMe, and all this other stuff trying to get this." And it's like, well, this man was only 23 years old.
You know
Got
what?
3 kids.
I used to be a bleeding heart like that. Somebody say, "Oh, my loved one died, this, that, and the other. We raising." Okay, I'll do it. But now y'all can call me what you want. No. You know why I say no? Or I say you could donate the body to science. You know why I tell them that? It's because I don't sell it anymore. I used to be a life insurance agent. I heard every excuse under the sun. So the point is, I know somebody, 2, 3, 4, 10 people knocked on your door or was sent via a referral or whatever, and you got haughty and snooty. Oh, that's a bill. I don't want to. Then when that person or somebody up and died, then it's like you got your hand out. Can you help me? My thing is, 10 days after you have a baby, before you buy your baby some Jordans and all the little cute little clothes to go with it, and the little earrings and the necklaces, and buy them a life insurance policy. Do that, because that's your responsibility to make sure the life of your child is protected in every way, shape, and form. And when they're 10 days old, it's a far less expensive, and you keep that price all the way up until it's time for them to leave up out of here.
Right. And I advocate for a lot of veteran stuff, and a lot of you vets that get out, you do your little 4 years, whatever the deal is. If you have a loved one that that is a veteran, and they whatever reason they went back home and hanging on the corner, whatever the deal is, you can go to the VA and you can get a form of insurance through the VA. It ain't a lot, but it's part of their benefits. It doesn't cost a lot, and that veteran will be covered. So if Uncle Moo Moo is sitting out there, he had some traumatic experience and he's still kind of out there, you can get insurance on him through the VA. So you can do that. And matter of fact, Uncle Moo Moo, because of his experience in the military, he can get medical coverage. He can get some sort of coverage to help him or her get through this thing that we call life.
You heard from Donovan, who's a veteran. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back. We didn't get to our third question, but maybe I'll ask it on the show later on. But we will be back at 5 p.m. We're going to talk about politics. I have a good conversation. So y'all stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you guys be blessed. Peace.